Hello and welcome, everybody. This is episode 24 of Get Bucked. I'm your host, Ryan, and as usual, I get to be joined by my co-host, Jackson. Jackson, how are you doing?
Doing good. I don't know how I feel about the new countdown music. I think I like the old one better, but we can talk about that later.
I know that's a decision that I was not one to make. That was just forced upon us by the people at StreamYard. So
Right.
new intro music, but that is what it is. Exciting show today as we're going over eight straight graded stakes from Gulfstream Park this Saturday. It is Fountain of Youth Day. Grade 3s, grade 2s all over the place. And we are fortunate enough to be joined by a guest who have been eager to get on this show. You may know him as PTF from InTheMoney Media, looms boldly on X. It's Peter Thomas Fornatail. How you doing, PTF?
I'm doing great. So great to be here with you guys. I've really been admiring the work that you've been doing, the energy you bring to the proceedings, and the just general sharpness. And it's great to get a chance to finally be a part of it. We've had some false starts, but we're getting it done now ahead of a huge Saturday of racing, and we're going to have some fun. Hopefully find some winners along the way.
I certainly hope so. Yeah, it is rapid fire this weekend. We have Kentucky Derby Oaks races going on at Gulfstream Park, Aqueduct, and out at Santa Anita. Let's check in to the comment section. We got Matt Miller in here saying, hey, Pete, obviously good friend of the show, good friend of yours, I'm sure. Yeah, awesome sequence. What were your just overall thoughts on these 8 races today for Saturday, Pete?
I'm excited. It's a cool sequence. I think there's a lot of opportunities within here. I haven't gotten down to that grinding part where I decide exactly how I'm going to allocate the funds, sort of start off just by going through and making short lists and ranking contenders. And then the next and critical stage of it is trying to figure out how to actually bet these opinions. But I will be getting involved. Some very fun stuff in the Sunshine State for sure on Saturday.
Yeah, not to be dismissed is the middle pick 5 that Gulfstream Park will also offer. That is retail friendly, so no computer assistance or no computer wagering, and just the good old fashioned retail player. So we'll dive on into it. We're going to start with a grade 2 going a mile in the dirt, the Devona Dale Stakes for the fillies. Picks are up on the screen. I went 6-4-1. Jackson went 2-4-6, and PTF you went 6-1-4. So we'll start there. With the number 6, Ballerina d'Oro. Curious spot for this one to turn up, but Pete, you and I landed on this one as our top pick.
Yeah, I mean, Ballerina d'Oro certainly has the talent, not one that you can just wax positive about. You got to consider some of the negatives here as well. But at the end of the day, I went with the fact that we've got a master conditioner calling the shots, and I'm guessing this horse has improved from that figure she earned in the Demoiselle last year. I think there's going to be a fast pace in this spot, and I think Ballerina d'Oro looks like the best closer. Good-looking work tab for this return to the races. Now, the problem is that Demoiselle, it just doesn't look like good form. No winners have come out of the race yet. Figures have mostly declined. This is a horse that's had some trouble at the gate, so I definitely want to not stand alone with Ballerina d'Oro, but I did think she was the most interesting option as far as an on-top choice here.
We saw this race a little similar. I also have my concerns about the Demoiselle Stakes. Obviously, Mohima ran last weekend and looked a little less than inspiring, but maybe she just needed one off the winter break there. So I'm with you. I'm going to trust Chad Brown to have this horse tightened up and ready for this effort. It did look like there was a fair amount of speed in this race. Tyler G aboard. I think that she could step up in a big way, certainly if the rest of the pace shows up. Jackson, I'm going to go to you with Frida, the number 2. Neither of us have this horse in our top 3. You have this one on top. Take it away.
Yeah, I'd expect this one to be a pretty decent price in here. Ballerina d'Oro is the one to beat. I just think this isn't her target, right? She wants to go a lot further than this. This is just a starting point for her. She scratched a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to try to beat her with a horse that's probably going to be the best of speed. I thought she ran fine last time in the Ford Gal. It was just her second start off a really long layoff. Pace was really fast. The winner came from way out of it. Queen's MG came from pretty far out of it too. So she ran fine to hang on for 5th in that spot. She needs to do better, but if she can get clear out of here, get some forward momentum, maybe she can take this field a pretty long way.
Yeah, you mentioned a horse in the Queen's MG who has drawn the rail. I have this horse in 3rd. PTF, you like this horse in 2nd, so a little more than myself.
Yeah, I thought from the rail draw, there was a chance she'd be a lot closer and might be able to claim that mantle of best of speed, depending on how things go. I think Jackson's idea is clever, and I think your horse is going to be a lot bigger of a price. But I definitely wanted something with speed in this spot to be complementary to Ballerina d'Oro, who could just end up in an impossible spot here, depending on how the break and the pace play out. But just feels to me like one who's headed back in the right direction. I thought that last race was pretty solid, making that middle move into the fast pace that Jackson described.
Yeah, I saw it pretty similar. I liked that Irad sticks aboard as well. This one's second off the bench, could take a step forward off that 75 buyer, and whether she's best of speed, but I also think she can come from off of it a little bit if she needs to. So she's got the ability to kind of play the break. I know she's kind of down on the rail, but with the mile out of the chute, plenty of time to kind of get adjusted as they go around there. So that's the number one. We'll go now to the number 4. That is Lacara, romped last time at Tampa Bay. Jackson, I'll throw it out to you as we all have this horse somewhere in our top 3.
Yeah, a bit of a class test, but she was impressive last time, right? She got the lead and just kind of ran those horses off their feet. She's drawn well. I think we'd already mentioned the main speeds look like they're drawn towards the inside, so she's drawn outside of them. Should get a pretty good trip regardless. And the last 2 times she went one turn, she's won pretty impressively. She won very impressively over at Saratoga, and beat a pretty decent field over at Churchill going in the grade 3. So we know if she fits this one turn, she should get a pretty good trip. She's very logical in this.
Yeah, that last one was a little odd. She was the morning line favorite, went off at a little over 3.5 to 1 with her laugh taking a majority of the play. Her laugh blew the break coming out of there, and that left Lacara to kind of have things her own way. So I wonder if we'll see a repeat of that effort, because certainly that puts her pretty much back in the winner's circle with a step up above an 84 or anywhere close to that. Pete, anything to add there on the number 4, Lacara?
One of the things I like is that figure pattern, right? When they get back to their 2-year-old top in that first race at 3, that can portend further improvement. And I just like the fact that she's won with a variety of running styles. Honestly, when I did my write-up and my notes, I only talked about the top 2. And when we talked about doing 3 picks for the grid here, I went back and that's when it like sort of clicked. Oh, this horse goes with a live chance as well. So probably more of a backup for me, but I do think a filly who has some nice attributes.
100%. That's Lacara, the number 4, and that is race number 8, the grade 2 Devona Dale Stakes, going first of 8 straight graded stakes on the card. We'll move on to race number 9. We're moving on to the grass here for the Canadian turf. Grade 3, we're going a mile and a 16th. Picks are up as I wait for DRF to load. I went 1-5-4. Jackson went 5-6-4, and Pete went 5-4-3. So we're going to start with the number 5. Jackson, I'll turn it to you this time to start us off with Silent Heart for Brian Lynch.
Yeah, he's kind of up and comer in this race, right? We don't know how good he really is yet. And he's coming off a really impressive performance. It was career top by 8 points. And we got to see if he can replicate that. But he did it the right way. It looks like there's not a whole lot of speed in here. He could control this thing. And if someone does go, he's shown he's more than capable of sitting just off of him. So I thought he was pretty logical in this spot. Ryan and I, we talk about all the time. Nobody gets to pass Luis Saez in the stretch. So if this one has a lead, turn it for home, he should be very, very tough.
He definitely should be. Pete, your top pick as well in here is the number 5, Silent Heart.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. Jackson made the case well. Silent Heart might just have a figure and tactical edge against this field. Really just looks the clear best speed and starting to give, not as good as Heart to Heart, the sire yet, but starting to give some of those vibes of a horse that could get good and win a lot of these, non-grade 1 turf tests. Heart to Heart was a big hero horse for us back, if you can believe it, 10 years ago in what was then the DRF Players podcast. I'd like to see Silent Heart continue on that kind of a trajectory.
Yeah, this runner seems to be improving since stretching out to the 2 turns, 3 back. She just fired nothing but really good efforts, losing to Cugino and full Nelson 2 back, but comes in here in razor sharp form. So I had that horse in second. You guys have him on top. I have Irish Aces as my top choice in the race. I think she got the best of the draw. She gets second off the bench after firing really well in the Tampa Bay last time out there. I loved her effort. Declan Cannon was aboard that day. We get Tyler G Saturday at Gulfstream Park. So I think if she builds upon that 97 buyer, she got right back to the form she left off at Keeneland. So I like to see that. And I'm hoping she can improve upon that. Yes, Jackson.
It's a dude. You keep saying she. Get it right.
Oh, sorry. I'm awful at that. Thank you for the correct. You've
been good about it for a while, but
have I?
You've been good for a while. When we first started, you did it all the time. It's been a while.
Yeah, when I first started, I was a mess, for sure, without a doubt. But all right, he got the best of the rail draw. No, I think if he takes a good step up, I think there's enough pace that's going to allow him to use his turn of foot down the lane. And I think with this race, the rails are out at 59 feet, so that's something to take note of as we go along with this sequence, because they will change depending on the race. But I think he'll be able to kind of save the most amount of ground, but definitely be wary of how the turf course is playing, because sometimes those rails out could be a little more speed favoring. And if so, I think Silent Heart certainly gets a boost because of that. So That's my point on the number 1. We'll go now to the number 4. PTF, I'll throw it out to you. That's Major Dude for Pletcher and Irad.
I wanted to play this in terms of the different kinds of scenarios that might play out. I think if Silent Heart gets to the front uncontested, obviously huge upgrade. If Silent Heart isn't going to win, it's probably because the pace was too fast. So I was looking at 1 to be a mid-pack closer and 1 to be kind of a deeper closer. And Major Dude was the mid-pack closer that I wanted. I mean, I get Irish Aces too, but I just landed in a different direction. I thought Major Dude maybe moved a hair early last time, just looking at pace figures. That race looked like good form. And this horse's established level of ability just puts him right there. I don't have anything too clever, but I think there's some scenarios where Major Dude could get the jump on the deeper closers if Silent Heart goes too fast.
I certainly agree with that point. This one does look to get kind of first run on the closers coming out of the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational last time, where Spirit of St. Louis made a huge run down the outside late. So there were a few coming out of there in traffic trouble. A lot of those are running back this weekend, whether it's out on the West Coast with runners like Formidable Man and Mi Hermano Ramon, or a runner like Major Dude, who I think definitely posed the shot, as I had this one in 3rd. Jackson, you did as well. Anything to add on this one?
Not much. He's a really cool horse. He's one of my favorites. I always seem to be on the right side of him, which is always fun too for my wallet. He just creates his own trip, right? He kind of mentioned that he's always in a good spot because he has that tactical speed, but he can also finish off the race. So he should be very tough with any kind of trip in this race.
Yeah, you mentioned you're always on the right side of him. 3 back, you sent me a text, Major Dude winning today. That's the only bet that matters. And sure enough, he wins by open lengths with Flavia Prada board. So nothing but love for that runner. Jackson, I'll stick with you as we go to the number 6 Paros.
Yeah, we're doing this before the morning line comes out, so I'd be very curious to see how he gets bet in this race, because his last race was awful, and I don't know what happened that day, but before that, he was just so good. He was rattling off wins and rising in class and passing every single test and beating some good horses in the process. So, if he's 8-1, 10-1, I would give him another chance in this race, just because the last one just seems like it was too bad to believe, because his form prior to that was really good.
Definitely. Before the synthetic try, the figures he was running there, he was coming in off of 4 straight. So maybe just threw in, a subpar effort. He was kind of due for a little bit of a bounce. So if he gets back to that normal form, he can certainly be a threat right back. Last horse we'll talk about is going to be the number 3, Fort Washington, trained by Shug McGahee. Pete, I'll throw it out to you as you have this horse in 3rd.
This was the one I thought that if they really just go too fast, not the thing that I'm thinking is going to happen, but would be the one to benefit. I think that, the form could get reversed with him and Major Dude based on trips in this spot. The problem is with Fort Washington, these deeper closing types can really struggle, especially at Gulfstream. It's not an accident. This horse is 0 for 5 here, but based on the overall body of work and numbers, I still wouldn't mind having this horse as more of a B type in this race.
Yeah, certainly looks like a major player if they were to heat things up on the front end. Just going to be a matter of Junior Alvarado gets that pace to run into. So that is race number 9, the Grade 3 Canadian Turf Stakes, going a mile and a 16th on the grass. We'll move on now to race number 10. Picks for race 9 one more time. I'm 154. Jackson is 564. PTF is 543. Race number 10 is up. We're on the turf again. This time rails are at 0 feet from what I have listed. We're going a mile and 3/8. We're doing a marathon. The name of the stakes is the Grade 3, the Very One. I think this is the Very One, isn't it? Or is this the one that's called like the Very One?
This is the Very One.
The Very One. Yes, because that's not going to be confusing at all. So I saw the race 618. Jackson saw the race 281. PTF saw the race 598. So we're pretty different in this one. And Pete, we're going to throw it out to you to the number 5 Beach Bomb off the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf effort.
I'm intrigued by the motion pairing here. Beach Bomb was not beaten all that far in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare, a race that's looking better after Cinderella's Dream ran back last weekend in Dubai and ran a good second. And I just love the fact that Beach Bomb is a Grade 1 winner back in South Africa, or group. I'm not sure if they say grade or group in South Africa, to be honest with you. But I think that, Beach Bomb has yet to get a proper setup in the North American runs and won't exactly get a setup here, but I think the pace might be even enough that she gets invited into the race. Looks to me like the last work signals readiness. I think she could surprise. Again, we did do this before we got to see Brian Natto's excellent morning line guesses, but I'm thinking you could get a halfway decent price on these motion runners, and I think they both go with chances.
I absolutely agree with that point. I gave this one a long look. I just wondered if maybe, wouldn't get the quite the pace setup this one requires, but certainly one I keep an eye on. One I want to watch the tote board because this one starts taking money, especially considering Grand Motion is only 1 for 31. If this one's taking a lot of money, this one is going to be live. I'll go to the number 2, Jackson. That's to you to Be My Sunshine for Safi on a Saturday.
Safi on a Saturday. Yeah. I'm intrigued by this runner because I do think she will appreciate stretching out. She's kind of been running not quite even pace lines, but pretty close to it, not quite getting there. And you go all the way back to, September of 2023, but she ran a little over a mile and a quarter, and she ran fine in there. She replicated that same figure when she cut back. So I don't think the distance is going to be what gets her beat in this spot. I just think she's going to be very forward in a race that has no speed. And it's been a while since she's been running very well, but you go back to when she was forwardly placed. Again, those back in Gulfstream late 23, early 24. But those races when she was forward were her best races by far, when she's running running second. So, if she gets left alone in the lead or is right up there on top in second or third and they're going 52.5, which is very, very possible in a race like this, I think she can hang on for it at a big price.
Yeah, I can certainly see your point there. This one could take a step up, third off the bench. Certainly eligible for a move forward. My top pick is the number 6, What Love Looks Like. Johnny V on board for Todd Pletcher. This one's second off the bench. Showed up last time in the Grade 3 La Prévoyante at Gulfstream Park and finished 4th and just kind of, kind of grinding along there towards the finish. Johnny V had this one in a decent spot, just wasn't able to quite finish it out. I'm hoping that this one can run back second off the bench and maybe just has a little more stamina to her. A little more stamina to her now, and is able to kind of finish it off because I think on her best day she can certainly compete with the likes of these. And I love to she came back off the layoff to repeat with that 89 buyer, so she clearly kept her form. 6-year-old mare still kind of looks like she's in the mood and in the mindset to race. So I like seeing that. So yeah, this one ended up as my top pick. I think she can sit a nice trip, and I don't think there is too much speed that's going to compromise her towards the end. We'll go out to the number 9. That is, I believe, Blush, another Grand Motion runner. I'll throw it back out to you, Pete. This is the second of the 2 Grand Motion runners you're intrigued in.
And this horse is a bit sneaky, okay? So she ran off in the post parade in the Long Island. She didn't go to the post with the pony, and she got lit up. And that continued during the race where she was tugging early and acted a bit of a fool. And then you go back to the Taylor, and I thought she had no chance off the break. So you got 2 races that I think can pretty much be ignored. And then you go back, and you've got French form that looks good enough to win at the level, looks prepared for the return to the races. The post isn't great, but is also going to contribute to a price. So I think Blush is very sneaky for those reasons. I just don't think she's been able to show her best.
Definitely sneaky if she's calm in the pre-race and doesn't have the same kind of antics that made her expend that energy last time. Certainly one that's interesting, worth noting for these 3-turn races. That turn does come up awful quick. So something to, obviously keep in mind for everybody watching and listening that's going to be betting these races. But certainly one with a fair amount of intrigue. We'll go now just to the inside, a horse that all of us have somewhere. That's La Mejana. Jackson, I'll go to you. You have this one in second. Pete and I have this one in third. What did you like here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, she ran perfectly fine last time. It was in that race on Pegasus Day. She had a little bit more trouble than Forever After All did in the stretch, and that was the difference in the race. If she would have had a clean run, she would have been, I don't know if she would have won, but it would have been, photo finish right there. So that was it. I think she's going to be a much bigger price than Forever After All just because of that. She got beat, and now she's in post 8. And I really don't think there's much separating those 2 at all because, she beat her 2 back. So I think it's a coin flip between those 2, and whoever the bigger price is who I would want to lean on more.
I like the statement there. Pete, I'll throw it out to you. Do you have anything to add on number 8?
It was like Jackson was reading my notes. So here's exactly what I have. I did think La Mejana had the slightly tougher trip, having to idle in and among horses for longer, and then just getting out quick and late by Forever After All. Ideally, I'd want both on tickets. So there you go.
There it is. That's the number 8, La Mejana. Last one we'll talk about is Down on the Rail. That is the number 1 Forever After All, who won last time out in the La Prévoyante. And I was looking to try and beat her here, but she won from post 10 last time, going 1.5 miles. So she lost some ground on the turn. She was 8 wide, kind of coming into the stretch last time out. So this time she draws the rail. She's going to tuck in. She beat a handful of these horses last time out. and horses like Chop Chop, who have definitely held their form pretty well. Obviously, the main concern with this one and why I couldn't pick her on top is because of those 10 second place finishes and 2 more in third. So not one exactly that loves the winner's circle, but certainly one that fires a great race. So definitely a spread race horizontally for me as I look at this. But this is one I'd kind of consider for that kind of underneath tri-key type of play, knowing that she's going to fire a strong effort. Jackson, anything to add on the number 1 Forever After All?
All I'll say about the 1 and the 8 La Mahana is we kind of know what they are. They've been running the same figures the last 5 or 6 races. It's that low 8 or high 80s, low 90 buyer. So we know what we're going to get from those horses. So I don't hate the idea at all of taking emotion horses who are, unproven and have a lot more upside than the horses like the 1 and the 8. And they're going to be much better prices. So that's all I'll say.
100%. That is race number 10. I went 618, Jackson 281, and PTF 598. Moving on to race number 11, the second of only 3 dirt races that we'll be covering today. It's the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Mile. I'll throw our picks up on the screen for race number 11. I went 173. Jackson went 371, and PTF went 179. So we're all pretty similar in here. These middle of the card, middle of the sequence kind of dirt races always seem to terrify me. There's, these one-turn dirt races. Things always seem to fall apart. Rail Runner is the number 1 mind frame coming back off a lengthy layoff since last running in the Grade 1 Haskell, losing to Dornock, who was obviously on just an absolute summer tear last year. So Pete, I'll go to you first. The number 1 mind frame, certainly the horse to beat coming off of this.
He's tough to feel too confident about in the sense that he showed such mind issues in those big races that he should have won both of, but threw them away. But here's the thing. We've had time in the hands of a master conditioner. This horse was a proper unit physically, the exact kind of horse that's supposed to improve with time based on his physical size. So, on the downside, do we know he's over the mental issues? We won't know until the afternoon. Does he have bigger goals? Of course he does. So he's a must use, but he's not a standalone for me simply because there are as many questions as there are answers, I think, with mind frame, but enough obvious positives that I'm not going to be a hero and try to beat the horse.
Yeah, this wasn't a single for me by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, if he has matured since that 3-year-old season and he's no longer, having the antics of bearing out in the stretch and not quite wanting to finish off those races, he's going to be a formidable opponent in this one. One I could pick on top just because I think it's similar to kind of Locked Out in the big cap, just the most talented horse in this field. So I think maybe even if he's not, firing an A or A+ effort, he might still be able to run by these. I was a fan of his summer antics last summer because I did have Dornock in the Belmont Stakes, and that cashed a very nice pick 5 for me. So I was okay that he didn't want to finish that one off, but I certainly hope he comes back here in good order. So Jackson, I'll go to you real quick with the number 1 mind frame horse you have in third. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'm just glad he's coming back because he adds to what is looking like a really, really good older handicap division. I mean, I'm really excited that he's coming here. But if he's ever going to lose, it feels like it's going to be this race where he's bigger fish to fry. It's just a comeback start. Kind of buried on the rail. And, I don't know. I'm not trying to spend a ton of money trying to beat him, but I'll take a small stab against him. But he's really good. He's obvious.
Definitely. But one of the horses you're going to try and take a stab against is a horse that is certainly strong on form. This horse has never been worse than second, is coming in off 4 straight wins. I'm talking about the number 3 Encino.
Yeah, he's one. I just really liked his race last year in the Lexington. They went really fast early. He did all the dirty work and still held on. He beat the Wine Steward, who's a pretty decent horse, and they were well clear that day. And then, got a good strong buyer in that race. Came back, had a prep, won the 9, did what he was supposed to do. It wasn't very impressive, but I think because of that low number, you're going to get a bit better of a price than you probably should. And he's drawn outside of mind frame. So maybe he can just wire this field now that he has that prep under his belt. And, maybe he'll try to beat the big favorite in this spot.
Yeah, this is an interesting runner. I have this one in third. I thought this one obviously deserved a chance. I think second off this layoff now as a 4-year-old colt, I think he can improve upon that 86 buyer last time out. That was clearly just kind of a starting off point. Runs fine off Lasix. I just wonder if maybe, I don't know what his peak is going to be. I don't know what his highest capability is, but certainly a horse that I respect with the form coming in. Definitely knows where the winning post is and knows how to get there. Pete, I'm curious about your thoughts real quick. You don't have this one in your top 3. Why?
Yeah, it's so funny because when I originally wrote up my list, I did have him third. And then I think why I got off was I feel like if nothing else, Mindframe drawn on the inside is going to make this horse's life miserable. And I think ultimately that's why I went in a different direction. But he makes a lot of sense. I can absolutely see it if I squint. And there's got to be some scenario where Mindframe doesn't break or has some sort of mental issue in the race and just lets this horse cruise. So, I mean, I get it, but I do worry because of his speed. This is getting down the rabbit hole, but he becomes the kind of wise guy alternative that could get overbet into the teeth of a horse like Mindframe. It's hard to know. He makes sense to have on tickets. Like I said, I originally had him in my write-up, and then for some reason, when you asked me for my top three, I went a different direction.
It's all good. One of the different directions you went is to the number 7. That is Steel Sunshine, a horse that we all like. We actually all have this one in second, but go ahead and take it away with this talented runner from Bobby DeBona.
This is a horse that he's kind of the opposite of Mindframe because we know that he doesn't have Mindframe's ceiling, but his floor is also so much higher. We've been talking a lot lately on the shows and the In the Money Players podcast about what a big drop it is out of Grade 1 company into any other stakes race. That's an angle here, reunited with the win rider, Paco Lopez. And then there's this scenario where Mindframe and Encino kind of hook up early, and it sets up beautifully for Steel Sunshine. This is one that I definitely want on some up tickets.
Yeah, I am absolutely in the same boat as you. Jackson, I'll go to you real quick because you have this one in second as well.
Yeah, to echo all the points he made, it does feel like a race that doesn't have a whole lot of speed. So I think the riders of the one, Mindframe and Encino, are going to see that, and they're both going to be pretty intent on getting forward. And if they do hook up, this is the one that you can pretty safely rely on to come running late because he loves this 1 mile distance. The cutback should suit him really well, and he makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, definitely that distance specialist type of horse. 6 wins from 10 tries, 2/3 going this 1 turn mile distance at Gulfstream Park, which is just sensational. And PTF, you nailed you hit the nail on the head with the floor is so much higher for Steel Sunshine. You know that even on his worst day, he's going to run, that 90, 91 buyer because that's just kind of what he is. And he's likely going to run a 95. And in a situation like this, he could be picking up the pieces of Encino and Mindframe kind of go at each other early.
Yeah, you can see from those figures that he's got this. He's a yardstick, right? I mean, you sort of know what you're getting in a race where the favorite, you kind of don't know what you're getting.
Well put, for sure. We'll go now to the number 9. That is Secret Chat. Dylan Davis aboard this Barboza runner. PTF, I'm going to go to you. You have this one in third.
Yeah, this was a little bit like I'm going to pick some other horse that's a finisher to maybe get in underneath for verticals. I didn't really see as a serious win contender, but was just looking at a horse that maybe still had some upside. You can even hear as I'm talking about it, I'm not entirely convinced myself, but it was more of a throw in for underneath in verticals. I would not use for a penny on top.
Definitely one that's interesting underneath, though. This one does have a nice kind of late turn of foot or just an ability to finish off a race pretty well. So could be coming if those two up front, Mindframe and Encino, kind of duel each other into getting a little tired late. That mile could be even longer than the 7 furlongs where they kind of treat that like a sprint. This mile kind of gets treated the same way. And sometimes that last furlong gets a little tough on these horses. So that is race number 11. I went 173, Jackson 371, PTF 179. We'll move on now to the 1 mile Honey Fox Stakes, rail out at 59 feet again for this event. We are going a mile on the grass. As I mentioned, picks are up. I went 728, Jackson 241, and PTF 182. So we're going to start with the rail runner, the number 1, tax implications off the layoff from the Grade 1 matriarch start last time out. Oh, sorry, with you, Pete.
Oh, sorry. I think you did cue me, and I distracted myself. Very much of a spread race here. Tax implications ran well against the flow in that Grade 1 matriarch, and that's a funny one. I had like a little sticker shock looking at 20-1 on Chad Brown before remembering that it was an other Chad Brown situation. Big drop in class. This is just a starting point for the campaign, but I think there's a chance that she's well drawn here and could be the best one late. I'm not sure there's enough pace to set her up. I'm not sure Gulfstream's going to be her course, but she was still an A-level contender for me.
100% was an A-level type of horse. This one I gave a look to, but couldn't pick higher than fourth. So that's why this one's not in my top three. Does feel like kind of that starting off point. This one feels like she's going to run, she's going to run in the opening weekend at Keeneland. That kind of feels like the type of vibe I'm getting from this runner for tax implications, but still expecting a very strong showing and did draw well, as you mentioned. Jackson, I'm going to go out to you as we go to the number 2. See you around for Christophe Clement and Irad.
Just real quick to add the one. She really likes the firm going. You look at her races, and whenever it's a little bit of give in the ground, she doesn't run nearly as well. If I'm the connections here, I'm getting her back to California and just dominate the older turf races because she loved it there. The matriarch did not set up for her at all, and she came flying late. She ran really, really well in that spot. So I agree with Pete. Not sure if she's going to get that setup she needs in this race, but she's dangerous if they do go really fast up front.
She is, absolutely. We'll go to the number 2 now for See You Around.
Yeah, I kind of made a case for her last time. I can't remember the name of the race on Pegasus undercard. She didn't get into the race, and I kind of liked her in that spot. And then she came back in the Endeavor, and she ran really well. That was another one. She was completely against the flow. The first, third, and fourth place finishers all came from way out of it, sandwiched between a couple of Chad Brown horses that are pretty solid. So I thought it was a really impressive effort. The 1-2 back at Gulfstream, she ran down In Our Time, who was loose on the lead. In Our Time came back to run a 96 Spire, greatly improved. So I was impressed with that one. She's drawn really well towards the inside. Should get that good pocket trip that you love to see at Gulfstream. So got to pay the IRAD tax, but she makes plenty of sense in here. She'll be my top pick.
I like it. That is See You Around. I will go out to the number 7, which should be Special Juan.
Yep.
Perfect. Number 7, Special Juan. Sorry, this is my top pick. And here I have the names written down in my notes, but I'm not looking at those right now. So I'm going off of just hoping that I'm counting correctly. This runner for Brendan Walls comes off a bit of a layoff since October at Keeneland. Since running in the First Lady. She ran okay, but she looked like she didn't finish off really the way I wanted to see. I think she comes in fresh here. Obviously, I think you're going to get a bit of a decent price, and Louis Saez on board. No one gets past Louis Saez in the stretch, as Jackson and I like to say and repeat from time and time again. He has gotten the hard way. Yeah, he has gotten past in the stretch a couple times, but overall, he's obviously very talented. And I think we haven't seen the best of this runner. Has improved in her 2 starts since coming from overseas out in Ireland. So, I'm hoping her 3rd start in North America is her best start. And I think a big step up, or a step up rather, from the 92 buyer she ran in the First Lady when losing to, Gina Romantica, who went on to. She ran 2nd in the Grade 1 Matriarch, but was certainly a highly thought of horse in terms of the turf routers here in North America. So I gave this one a look. Pete, when you sent your picks over, you had the 7 in 4th that I removed. So I know I'm sure you have some thoughts on this runner. So go ahead.
Yeah, bits of interesting form in Ireland and, looked overmatched at Grade 1 level last time, but was in the hunt at a critical stage of the race, was in the hunt at the pace call. Sometimes that'll translate to success when they drop back down in class. Just for me, she was another contender in a deep race. I can't really see playing fewer than 4 runners on my tickets in the Honey Fox.
Yeah, I'm right next to you on that one. This is a big spread race for sure. This race is really tough to decipher and pick apart. Pete, we'll stick with you as we go to the number 8 in our time, a horse that you and I both have in our top 3, but I'll let you take it away with this one.
I thought she was the pace play in this spot, has plenty of back races, good enough. We were talking before about the other Safi runner who earlier on the turf that is that Be My Sunshine, who I also think makes sense. I pulled some Safi numbers, shockingly bad numbers in the marathons, the USA version of marathons for Safi, but those numbers are slightly better when you go into the shorter spots. So I was thinking that they're even though the numbers are still not good, like 10% win, 35% in the money, $1.16 ROI on a $2 bet for Safi going. I think I did it 9 furlongs or less in turf stakes. Those are still so much better than his numbers going farther that I was actually trying to consider it as a positive. It's also one of those things when I come up with a pace play, I'm not as worried about what the trainer numbers say. You know what I mean? I'm coming at it from a different angle. And I think In Our Time could just have a race run to suit.
I like it. Yeah, I gave this one a very strong look. This runner for Resolute Racing, Resolute and Miller Racing. Yeah, absolutely the pace play in here. That was a really solid effort last time out in the Pegasus World Cup Filly Male Turf Invitational. That is a very long title of a stake to say. I didn't realize how much I had committed until I started saying that. But ran great up front, losing to Sacred Wish and Be Your Best, but certainly outran, kind of what she had run prior. Jackson, that was a favorite angle of yours, I'm sure, the paired up buyer tops of the 88s, and then taking a nice step forward to the 96. And yeah, I think if she repeats that, she drew a lot better today, so she's not going to be at risking the chance of losing more ground. I mean, given she's only 2 positions in from where she broke last time, but still a good shot in this one. So I gave this one a look in third. And real quick before we move on, congrats on Matt Miller's, 150th tourney win of the month. This guy is the Flavian Pratt of tournament players at the moment.
Don't look at the bottom of the standings in that contest. Just
something tells me you'll see Jackson Muniz's name. But we'll go to the number 4 runner in here. I believe that's Poolside with Slim, Jackson.
Yeah, this is one I've always been a fan of. I had her at Keeneland when she won the pretty competitive value race, and she looked good doing that. Came back when the Mrs. Revere didn't really have any kind of chance when Geo Beach was really good, and she was just allowed to walk on the front end that day. This one was kind of wide the whole way around, just kind of ran in place. So I wanted to give her another chance in this spot, getting away from a really tough rival like Kehoe Beach. This is a much softer race, and if she gets any kind of trip from the inside, she should be pretty tough in here. I'd also like to say I'm very excited to see Kehoe Beach versus She Feels Pretty. I hope they meet up at Keeneland. I don't know if that's even in the works, but I would love to see those two face off.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible with, She Feels Pretty obviously coming from a little bit off the pace, and Kehoe just send and go and see if she can hold on. So I'm with you. I hope we get to see them match up at some point, because those are 2 of the best turf runners on the female side in this division. But yeah, Poolside with Slim, very talented runner. This one's going to come in here off a bit of a layoff from the fall in November at Churchill Downs, but certainly could take another step forward as she progresses. That is race number 12. I went 7-2-8, Jackson 2-4-1, and Pete went 8-1-8-2. So we'll move on to race number 13. This is the Kentucky Derby prep race. This is the Fountain of Youth. We're going a mile and a 16th on the dirt. Picks are up on the screen. I went 3-2-1. Jackson went 3-6-8, and PTF went 2-8-3. Obviously a very competitive race in here. And Pete, we're going to start off with you with the number 2 Sovereignty, a very interesting horse that I'm excited to see back in the races.
I might be being a little stubborn putting Sovereignty on top, as this is a horse that's been at the top of my personal Derby top 10 list, not to be confused with Eric DeCoster's official Derby top 10 list. This horse, I was so impressed with that street sense. And it wasn't just about it wasn't a bad figure, but it wasn't really about the figure as much. It was a way he did it thing for me. I love the fact that the horse, looking at the pace line, fast early, settled, improving again at the end. That's the indicator of a real indicator of talent to me. The problems are not going to be fully cranked up. Definitely seems like maybe a little bit of a slower start to the season than they wanted. So it could be a hard charging second type, but I'm hoping he's just got the talent and class to overcome any of those hurdles. I think the pace should be sharp enough to bring his late run into play. I'm not going to go nuts here and take this horse at less than 2-1. Again, we haven't seen Brian's educated guess on the prices. I haven't seen any international prices. There are other ways to go if this horse is hellaciously overbet. But I'm also thinking that the questions are obvious enough that maybe you get that 2-1, and then I'm happy to just row in with my boy.
I like it. Sovereignty, very interesting prospect on the Derby Trail. That street sense was won absolutely the right way. This one powered home, pretty much blew the doors off the rest of that field. And those are runners like Tistastic and Sandman. Sandman obviously was just the favorite in the Rebel, coming up a little bit short, but I do believe that he wants to go so much longer than what he's able to do right now. But yeah, this runner comes back, coming in fresh, kind of reminds me of kind of journalism out on the West Coast, getting a little bit of a late start to that 3-year-old season, but has a handful of Derby points already. So, maybe they're just looking for a good second, and then they'll pop up in a grade 1 at Keeneland or maybe even the Florida Derby to try and, put the final, get the final amount of points to get into the Derby gate. So I gave this one a good look for sure. If this one's, I don't know if we'll get 7-2 or above. That seems like a little bit too generous. I doubt it. Jackson's also shaking his head. If we do somehow, I'm probably going to bet it. I'm probably going to bet Sovereignty in that case. But my top pick was the number 3 Burnham Square. Jackson, you and I share the same top pick viewpoint in here, so I'll turn it over to you in a second. But I think this is the now horse. Whether or not I'll like this runner on Derby Day is yet to be seen. But I think right now this is the horse that's in the best form. What say you?
Yeah, if the Kentucky Derby was run on the first Saturday in March, this would be the horse. I'd be betting him all day long. I have very few questions left about this one. I know he'll run all day. I know he can handle kickback. I know he can navigate traffic. I know he can stop and start. I just think he's really good. He continues to keep getting better and better, especially in this barn. This is kind of what they do. They just progress and progress and progress. There's plenty of speed to set it up for him, and I think he's going to win this race.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Pete, you picked this horse in third. Did you see this horse maybe having some vulnerabilities or maybe a little bit of a bounce?
I get him. No, I get him. We know he's sharp and in form. I can't blame Jackson or anybody who takes a favorable view. Horse closed effectively last time. Not always the easiest thing here. Granted, I picked one, Sovereignty, who's also a closer. I guess I just thought if I'm going with Sovereignty, I didn't want my main alternative to be another closer. I wanted to gravitate in a different direction. It's as simple as that. But I mean, the horse makes plenty of sense.
And I should add the exact same thing why I don't have Sovereignty anywhere, because I think they're the 2 most likely winners by far, but you get no value using them both. So
yeah, I like it. That certainly makes a good amount of sense. I'll go to the number 8, which is Keep It Easy, if I do my counting correctly. So PTF, I'll stick with you, and then Jackson, I'll turn it over to you. The number 8, Keep It Easy, coming off a nice win last time.
Liked the race a lot in the Ed Brown last time. Ran away from a field that produced good form. 2 next out winners in there. First start at 3, looks to be well prepared for it for Dale Romans. Never gone as far as even 7, but on blood, you'd think that this horse should be suited for the task. I just thought it had a chance to spring the upset at what could be an okay price. Again, this is a race. Every race you need to see the board, but I'm really curious how they bet. The way in the write-up I did for my friends over at theraces.com, I basically said Sovereignty, unless he's shorter than 2-1. And then if he's over bet, Keep It Easy, I'd be interested in if he's like 6-1 or higher. So we'll just have to see how they bet and what they do. For horizontals, I'm going to use both and Burnham Square.
I like it. Jackson, what say you on this runner that you have in third?
No, you kind of covered it. That last race was really, really impressive. Tough catch, came back to win a stakes race by open lengths. I think he improved like 7 or 8 points, and he completely blew the doors off of that horse. So he's really tough. He makes plenty of sense. Should get a really good trip, stalking the pace. He'll get the jump on Sovereignty and Burnham Square. Just a little concerned about the layoff. I mean, it's a tough spot to come back in, and it's a tough test to go the 2 turns for the first time. But he's very interesting, and I think in the Florida Derby, especially if he progresses here, runs well, he'll be one you really want to look for next time.
Yeah, I agree with that point completely. One that's interesting, worth mentioning for this race will end at the first finish line going the mile and a 16th. So kind of those horses that get the jump around the turn, kind of similar to Keeneland, those horses that kind of make the first move, that finish line comes up a lot faster than it does when they're at the normal post. Jackson, I'll stick with you as we're going to go to the number 6. That's River Thames, coming off a very impressive win last time out. Yet Pete and I don't have this one in the top 3.
I refuse to believe that Pletcher doesn't have a single horse on the Derby Trail. So this horse has to be pretty good. I mean, he's run 2 very fast numbers. He's got the speed. Looks like he's going to be the best of speed in this spot. Bit of a distance question. I don't know if he necessarily wants to go very far, but this isn't the Derby. This is only mile 16th, and this is a very big class test for him. So I'm going to use him underneath, and we'll see what we get on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he's blown the doors off of everybody he's faced to this point so far, and he's done it in dominating fashion. Both runs have come on Lasix, both runs at a 1-turn distance, so he has to stretch out to 2 turns and handle that. But assuming he can come off Lasix fine, which I don't anticipate being too much of an issue, and stretching out, he certainly looks like a major factor coming in here. I left him off just on the fact that he's going to be too short of a price for a horse doing something for the first time, and he's got too many kind of unknowns. Looks like he's bred more for kind of a 1-turn kind of configuration type of a horse, but I don't know. Pete, what did you think? As we both don't have this horse in the top 3.
Exactly that. There's obvious attributes here, but the class test is huge. First time around 2 turns and a pedigree that just looked kind of sprint oriented to me. So I mean, and he's not going to have an easy situation either. I could be wrong. I mean, this is, if I lose, and this is an exercise I'll go through in a race like this, I'll say to myself beforehand, if I lose, how am I going to lose? And the way I see it is, if I lose, I'm going to lose because this horse is just better than I'm giving him credit for. And as such, if I have strong enough opinions elsewhere in a sequence, I have no problem trying to sneak this one on as a backup. I mean, he's obviously live, but the main question about the distance and a little bit about the class and the fact that he's going to be bet all make me not want to be one of the ones I talk about on the show.
I like it. Yeah, I had a similar kind of approach. Yeah, I didn't want to include this one on my horizontal tickets unless I can absolutely sneak him in, but he's one that he's just going to have to kind of prove me wrong. Trying something new for the first time against the field like this, a lot of them with the 2-turn experience, but definitely a horse I respect going forward. If he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. That's just a part of the game. Last one I'll talk to, speaking of getting proved wrong, is the number 1 Gate to Wire. I mean, this effort, they finally got this runner on dirt, and he just exploded. He ran a career best race, really by far. Given they set this one up, Gunmetal and the other favorite in there, or if it wasn't the other favorite, another speed horse in there, kind of just dueled themselves into submission. You see 7 furlongs was the distance. They went sub 44 to the half. I mean, that's way too fast. That was going to set up for this runner, which makes me think maybe it got a little bit inflated just because this runner had so much pace to run into, but he finished off really well. It wasn't necessarily that he was grinding home. He kind of powered home. He got the lead there at the second to last point of call and just extended and widened from there. So certainly a look of confidence. And I know this one's going to be doing 2 turns for the first time. Jackson mentioned, Pletcher doesn't have a horse on the Derby trail. I think this is the one that jumps up in his first attempt around 2 turns. And I think you're going to get a decent price, certainly compared to the other talented runners in here. But one I thought merited a good look off that last effort, seemed to really just show a new dimension when switching over to dirt.
Yeah, this is one I made a case for on the InTheMoney podcast. I think it was the free one. And I made sure to emphasize, key him underneath. I made it very, very clear, key him underneath, and he wins the race by 5 at 13-1. So I thought
yeah, this was that was a head scratcher of a race for sure. For seeing them go that fast, I think I was singled to Gunmetal was the favorite that day, and I had a chore to do, so I went off and did that thinking Gunmetal would be fine. I come back and I see Gate to Wire wins. I was like, well, how did that happen? And then Jackson, was either you or Noah Maher that texted and said, oh, they went sub 44, and I said, oh, okay, well, that'll do it.
That would do it.
That is race number 13, the mile and a 16th Fountain of Youth Stakes. One more time with the picks. I went 3-2-1. Jackson 3-6-8. PTF went 2-8-3. We'll go on now to the last race of this sequence. We're going a mile and 3/8 marathon distance again in the grade 2 Mac Diarmida Stakes. Rails are at 0 feet from everything I have listed. Picks are up on the screen, and wow, we all have the same top pick. That is the number 8. I went 8-9-12. Jackson went 8-5-3. PTF 8-9-5. So we'll go out to the number 8 right now. And that is Segoy for the distance specialist, Mike Maker. Jackson, I will go to you first off here to talk about our collective group top pick.
Yeah, he's a marathon specialist. This is what Michael Maker does. He claims them from, mile races on dirt or turf or synthetic or 4 furlong sprints, and he turns them into marathon horses on the grass, and they're all 7 stakes horses. He's in really good forms. The race 3 back is the one I like the most, in the Sycamore at Keeneland. They flew that day. He was not that far behind the pace. He was wide the whole time, and he hung on pretty well to get to be 5th. Tossed 1-2 back. That was going just a mile. And then last time over at Sam Houston, he was really good. He held off a late charge from Verstappen. Verstappen's another marathon specialist that's really good. It just makes a lot of sense in here. I thought I was being a little clever, but the fact that we all have him on top makes me think he's going to be a little bit shorter than I was anticipating. But he's going to be tough to beat in this race.
Yeah, PTF, I'll turn it over to you now to talk about a little bit more about our top pick.
Yeah, this horse just very good last time at Sam Houston. Gets this eye-catching jockey booking to Frankie Dettori. And I think this trip is going to work out beautifully. We've got tactical speed, should be able to sit just off the pace and pounce. I think there's just a lot of arrows pointing in this direction. I'm nervous that we all makes me think we might be looking at a shorter price than I was hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Price-wise, 5-2 is kind of what my hope is. That might be a little ambitious. I don't know that we'll get that off that last effort, but I mean, I feel like this is a very deep and competitive field, but this was just such a Mike Maker classic. Claim this runner for 50,000. Immediately going a mile and a 16th on dirt at Keeneland. Immediately going a mile and a half at Churchill Downs in a grade 3, and of course he wins. Right, and then just it's that classic Mike Maker. No one knows how he does it, but he just sees these horses. Jackson pointed out at the beginning of his analysis that he just turns them into stakes caliber marathon runners just immediately, it would seem, which is just such a cool kind of thing that he has going for him. We'll go to the outside to the number 9 with Grand Sonata. Pete, you and I have this one in second. What'd you like about this runner?
Yeah, Grand Sonata makes a lot of sense to me. Just looks a little bit better going these farther distances. And this is the 3rd start at the meet. I could see this one just sort of rounding into form, getting back to doing something he wants to do a little bit more. And another I felt like was going to get a pretty solid trip in this spot.
Yeah, I think this one gets a good trip. Has a little bit of kind of muddied up form. Just the past couple has not, a couple races just hasn't been able to have that final run. They've just kind of either gone too slow. It was just overmatched like he was in the Breeders' Cup Turf facing, runners like Rebels Romance who just came back to win along with some other overseas runners. So I think the drop in class back in here and then the stretch back out to a distance that he is certainly familiar with and certainly handles pretty well. I think that's going to be beneficial to him. So that's kind of what ended up getting him with my second pick. We'll go to the number 3. Too far. That is Capture the Flag. I'll throw it out to you, Jackson, as you have this runner in 3rd.
This is going to be deep backup. This horse I've always been a fan of, and I think I've talked about him before. He just, when he was running the mile and mile 16th races, he struck me as a horse that would really appreciate getting to a marathon distance. And he finally did last time, and he didn't really have any kind of excuse. He ran fine. He got 2nd. I'm hoping maybe just the Tapeta he didn't really care for. Maybe that's the case for him here, and he gets the turf, and he gets back to the turf, and he runs a lot better. He's going to be a massive price, so I wanted to use him somewhere.
Yeah, certainly a horse that could take a massive step up getting back onto the turf and going that marathon distance here. So one that definitely warrants a look. We'll go out to the number 5, Pete. I'll throw it out to you, and then back to Jackson for the number 5 Cash Equity, Saffie on a Saturday.
This horse ran well from a tough draw last time, answering that question of whether or not the ground would be agreeable. And this horse got back to something near his best. He makes sense. He's got the negative Saffie stat going 10 furlongs or longer. So I'd want a price, but I think the price will be enough that this one is worth for me throwing in at the B level, at least in this spot.
Yeah, this one broke from post 11 of 12 last time out and just finished second by a nose to Dashman, who also runs back in here. Dashman happens to be my top pick, and he drew the outside post once again. And he drew post 12 last time, and he managed to overcome that going this 3-turn marathon turf distance at Gulfstream Park. So I had to take him back right here. I know it's not creative. That's why I didn't pick this one on top. I think you can certainly find horses to beat him. Obviously, Segoy being our collective top pick, but I thought this one deserved a look right back. The 99 Buyer, as he stretched out to a mile and a half for the first time, he ran, career best race. That was also off the layoff. Brian Lynch and those Oscar performances. I love the way he, places. It seems to be the Oscar performance horses specifically. He has them figured out. He knows exactly what they want to do. He puts them in the right spot, and time and again at Gulfstream Park, he'll win with these runners. So you won't get 19-1 like you did last time, but you do get a jockey booking of Luis Saez, which inspires some confidence. One more time, we'll say it for the people in the back. No one passes Louis in the stretch. So I want a Dashman right back. He's going to have to tuck in and save some ground. We're going a furlong shorter than the mile and a half, so that turn comes up even quicker. But if anybody's going to kind of save some ground and work out a good trip, I trust Louis to do just that. So that was the number 12 Dashman, a horse that I wanted in third. I believe we talked about all the runners in the race. Pete, I forgot who you had in fourth on your initial selection here. It was Dashman.
Yeah, the very same Dashman. The idea, I get it. He might be a last time was the time horse. That trip worked out really well, but the horse fits off that number. Another thing I thought was interesting is Dashman's just 4 years old. So it's possible that last race represents a new level of ability. And because of the 12 post, he might get lost in the betting here. So I wanted him on side as a backup right back as well. I was going to go 8-9 as the A's, 5-12 as my B's in the McDermott.
I definitely like that approach that you have going in here. So that is race number 14.
Real quick, Ryan, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jackson. No, go ahead.
Super quick. I was impressed with his race last time because if you guys remember, that turf course on Pegasus Day there was a lot of races that day were very speedy favoring. There were very few moves from well off the pace, and he was kind of the only one that did any running from way out of it. So I did want to upgrade that performance, and I do think it was a good sign that his first race going a marathon was such a big improvement, because that's clearly something he enjoyed.
100%. I like that you mentioned that, because that was certainly something to pay attention to coming off of that Pegasus World Cup weekend, where a lot of it was just all speed towards the front. Definitely some interesting and deeply competitive races. Last one I'll talk about real quick is the number 4 Missed the Cut, and he did just that. He was my 4th choice in this race, so he just missed the cut. But I thought this runner coming in up until the appearance out at Ascot last summer, which Cherie DeVaux certainly doesn't do a whole lot of. Those races all fit. I just think, with the ship and the layoff, feels like Keeneland might be the target for this runner, kind of going forward, or maybe, Churchill or something like that. So felt like this was more of a starting off point. Obviously, I know they're going pretty far, which means, which tells me maybe that they want to try something, or they want to get this horse, at the distance that he's best at. But a runner that intrigued me, certainly if he fires his best effort, that could put him right there. But I think the layoff might, cause him to need a run or two.
And he's first time Cherie, because he was with John Sadler. I don't know why it doesn't have that listed there, but he was with Sadler last year too.
Thank you. I was going to say, I didn't see a trainer switch, and I wasn't able to find one, but thank you for that info, Jackson. I appreciate that. So that is race number 14, deeply competitive, 8 race sequence there. I went 8-9-12, Jackson 8-5-3, PTF 8-9-5, with the top pick being Segoy across the board. So we got to see if we're able to get that top pick home in the last race. Pete, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. We really got through that in a great amount of time, covering those 8 graded stakes races. It wasn't easy to, get us all through it, but I think we all got to say our piece. And what can we look forward to from you and the In the Money team as this week kind of progresses?
So much stuff coming almost daily at this point on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. I encourage everybody to subscribe. Upcoming stuff, including analysis from Gulfstream and Santa Anita with JK and me. This weekend, we've also got Randy Moss and Jerry Bailey going to be talking about the 3-year-old prep races coming up. That's going to be fun. Loads of other stuff on there. Wherever you get your podcasts, In the Money Players podcast. This point, there was one racing podcast before us, but it doesn't exist anymore. So we're the oldest continually operating show. I'm very proud of that, but I'm also thrilled to see young, talented people like you guys picking up the mantle and creating great content. So much sharp advice from you two. I'm looking forward to turning the tables and having you both back on our airwaves again soon, so we can help spread the word about the fantastic stuff you're doing over here.
Love it. Thank you, Pete. Yeah, anytime you want us over there, you can absolutely have us. Jackson and I will talk horses all day, any day, as you will too. So thank you to everybody that is tuned along and listened to us talk about these 8 graded stakes at Gulfstream Park. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel here at the Gallop Out. Go subscribe to In the Money Media if you're not already. They have a ton of content coming out every day, especially for these big weeks, as PTF just mentioned. And Jackson, you and I will be back. Well, I guess later today we're doing a show with for Nyber Bets. So stay tuned for that as we get some Oaks Derby prep. And tomorrow, myself, Jackson, unfortunately, will be hitting dingers on the softball field, so he won't be able to join us. But myself, Kaylee Shapiro, and Vic of Energy will be doing the Aqueduct Stakes this Saturday with friend and guest Andy Serling joining us once again. So that'll be a lot of fun. But thank you, everybody, for watching. I've been your host, Ryan, and for Jackson and Pete, we will see you next time.